Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. It is the live watch along Sheffield United versus Newcastle United from Bramall Lane. I'm joined by Paul Tierney. Paul, how are you?
All right, man. How are you? All good here. All good. Looking forward to the game.
Yeah, well, we know that Jeff Hendrick and Kieran Clark are both starting for Newcastle, and Didsey and John Egan are starting for Sheffield United. No Enda Stevens tonight. Not sure why. He might have just picked up a knock or something. I haven't heard anything about it, but they're the lads that are in action tonight. What are you feeling going into this game?
I think looking at it overall, Newcastle must be looking to win this game. Obviously, Sheffield United haven't won a game this season in the league. They did win on the weekend against Bristol Rovers in the cup, which I always think is very helpful for teams that are out of form winning in the cup. But myself, I actually fancy Sheffield United tonight. I think they have to win sometime, and I think tonight's the night. Watch Newcastle on the weekend. Not much going on there, so I fancy Sheffield United to win 2-1 and McGoldrick to get on the score sheet as well.
Sorry, just adjusting the camera here, so I have the game on. Yeah, well, obviously you've seen them up close and personal. Being an Arsenal fan, you've seen them now up against Arsenal. What did you think of Newcastle the other day? Kieran Clark was very good up until I jinxed him on Twitter and said that he was playing really well, and then goes and gives you a goal basically.
Yeah, I thought they were very good. I thought they were very defensive. I think just being an Arsenal fan myself, I think Arsenal are there to be got at. They're not that great, and I mean, if Newcastle had kind of gone for it a bit more, they maybe would have got something. They nearly nicked it at the end as well. Great save from Leno, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the way Steve Bruce plays, to be honest, and that's it. There's nothing you can do there. If that's the style of play of the manager, you have to go with it, and that's it.
Yeah, I thought Newcastle were just unlucky, but up the other end, they're just not that good up front. I know they've got Callum Wilson who's up on screen there now, who's done well for them. They've got Joe Linton, but they just don't score enough goals, and that's ultimately why they struggle. But as well as that, it was good to see Sheffield United getting a win under their belt. Obviously, we want to see them do well because the Irish lads there, but they look pretty much near relegated. I mean, if they don't pick up a couple of results in the next few weeks, I think that'll be the cement, really. I think that would really cement the place. They've really been, in terms of results, you look at the points tally that they've accumulated so far this season, it's just not good at all. It's the worst ever, isn't it?
Yeah, worst ever so far. Even worse than Derby that year. But interestingly, Derby only got one win that year, and it was against Newcastle. So maybe it's going to happen tonight as well for Sheffield United. You never know. I think I've seen them a couple of times. I've seen them playing Arsenal, obviously, and then I've seen them playing Brighton a couple of weeks ago. They were unlucky not to win, not to get something from both of those games. Obviously, Arsenal away is a tough game, but they played quite well that day. And Brighton, they nearly nicked it. They probably should have nicked it, even with 10 men. So I think they've just been unlucky. I don't think they're the worst team to ever play in this Premier League. They've just been on a serious bad run of form. And hopefully, I do think they'll start getting a few wins together. I definitely don't think they'll be as bad as that Derby side anyway, that's for sure.
I just think with Sheffield United, they were so good last year, do you know what I mean? With the way they came up, and as John Egan described it, as organised chaos, the way they played. And I think they're really missing the fans more than anyone. Sorry, if I'm looking up here, I do have the game on just above the camera, so I am watching it up here on my phone. But yeah, I just look at their squad. It's still pretty much the same. They haven't really gotten rid of anyone except for the keeper, Henderson, going back to United. I mean, it's hard watching them not doing well because they're losing by the odd goal. They're not getting hammered every week. They're still a good side, but they just can't seem to pick up results. And I think they are really missing the fans more than anybody, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You see the atmosphere there when they have that song, the Greasy Chip Booty song. It's really interesting, and the atmosphere does be hopping at Bramall Lane. Even when they were in the lower divisions, you'd watch them a couple of times, and the place would be rocking. They're a big club, and I mean, there's a couple of other teams like that as well. I think this year, Burnley too, they miss their fans as well. They really get spurred on by them. So yeah, I agree with the point you made there. But again, I think maybe losing Dean Henderson as well was a tough one because he was so solid, and I can only think of him making one mistake last year, big one against Liverpool, and they were very good that game anyway. That's just how Liverpool were going on to win the league, so they win games like that. Yeah.
and they only lost the game by a goal. That's what I mean. Like that's what's been happening to them regularly this season. One mistake and a goal happened to them against Everton a couple of weeks ago, late on in the game. It's just literally the odd goal. They're very much in games, and if they don't score first, obviously now it seems as though the heads just seem to drop. And I look around, like they're always going on about Jack O'Connell, Egan, Basham, Baldock and Stevens, and if they're not playing in the same team, great ball there by Egan, by the way. But yeah, it's going out for a corner there. But but if they're not playing, they seem to struggle, and I think that's the problem. I mean, Chris Wilder has done well on the budget that he's had, but ultimately they are just, I think, missing the fans, because the fans would just drive them on, and it's a tough place to go, it seems, when the fans are in their numbers. The same way St James's Park is a tough place to go if Newcastle are doing well. Not many teams like going up there, because it's a huge stadium, and the fans pack it out. Even if Newcastle aren't doing well, it's still a tough place to go because they pack it out every week and they get behind the team.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think the problem with Newcastle is, like, maybe they think they're slightly bigger than they actually are. Like, the reality of it is that they've been relegated twice in the last 10 years, or not 10 years, last 15 years, which, I mean, that's like the same, similar to West Brom and your Norwiches and stuff like that. So, I mean, maybe that's the problem. They don't really know where they are. But, yeah, I agree with you on the 55,000 in St James's Park. It's never a nice place to go, particularly in the colder winter months, because up north it's freezing up there, and if you go and get a result there at those times, you're doing well. So definitely agree with you on that one.
Yeah, well, let's talk just a couple of comments there from Ush Bosch. He says, lads, how are we? And he says, the way Newcastle play is so depressing. But we won't really talk about the way Newcastle play, but I am fine. Paul, if you want to.
Yep, all good, man. Good to hear from you. Keep the comments coming in.
Yeah, and as well as that, if you're watching the video, don't forget to give it a like as well, and anyone watching as well, if you would like to head over to manscaped.com, head over, check out their products, use the code IFFTV20 for 20% off and free shipping on all their products. They've got lots and lots of stuff there, from the Lawnmower 3.0, deodorants, aftershaves, so on. Get 20% off and free shipping, and let us know how you get on there as well. Support them because they support us. So a couple of stories from today and talking points from today, Paul. I suppose we'll start off with Sam Bone. He signed for St Pat's from Waterford. Now, it seemed as though he wanted to stay at Waterford, but the stuff was going on with the owners and stuff like that. It didn't seem like he was getting, I suppose, pay. That seemed to be the general consensus. He wasn't getting paid, or there was a delay on the payment or something. I can't be 100% on that, but it seemed as though he did want to stay at Waterford. He seemed to be a real hit with the fans and seemed to like it there, but ultimately I think it came down to that. I remember him putting out a statement saying he was disappointed that he was leaving, but he had signed for Pats today. A really good player. He's versatile. He also, he was a midfielder, but he was playing centre back, and I saw him against Shells, and I thought he was really, really good. I think he's a really good player. He was obviously a Shamrock Rovers as well, but he's signed for them. Do you think that's a good move?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good move for the player and the club. Pats maybe haven't done as well as they thought they might have in the last couple of years, and I think that's an onward move for Sam Bone as well. Obviously, he struggled with injuries as well, but he was good at Waterford, and like you did mention, there's a lot of things going on in the background down there. Maybe it's not ideal, and he did want to stay, but unfortunately it didn't happen. It is a good move. Pats are a good side. They're trying to step on to the next level. They got some good players there, and I think it's a good move, definitely.
Yeah, well, I think because we're talking about one midfielder and then another midfielder that was meant to sign for him but didn't. Bastian Heary then obviously at Linfield, and Neil O'Riordan from the Sun was reporting that Bowes have came in for him and hijacked the deal basically. So he's effectively had agreed terms to join Linfield join from Linfield to Pats when his contract was due to run out, but he had agreed terms and everything, but Bowes have come in at the last minute and basically hijacked the deal. I think Derry were interested as well, but they've come in and hijacked the deal, and now it looks as though he's going to sign for Bowes. And just a couple of moments ago, I've just seen on Twitter there that Bowes have announced the signing of Stephen Mallon, who was at, I think, Derry last season, who's a winger. It's just gone off the screen there as I refreshed it. Thanks for that, Twitter. I'll get it back up there now. But I don't know if you'd seen him last year, but I thought he was quite a good player.
Yeah. I only seen Derry on the highlights a couple of times. I never actually went to a game where they were playing, unfortunately. But they have some good young players up at Derry, and it's a good move down. Bowser team, they done very well last year, and obviously there's going to be opportunities there with the likes of Mandrew, Twardek leaving in the summer, Danny Grant as well. So there's going to be opportunities for them there, and it looks like Andre Wright might be heading off as well.
Kilmarnock, isn't it?
Yeah, Kilmarnock. Yeah, be a good move for him as well, but be disappointing to see them leave another good player leave the league, because he's a talented player and had a very good season last year.
Yeah, but so it's come up there. He was at Sheffield United on loan at Derry last season, and now he seems as though he has signed on loan. No, he signed. It says he signed. So Brendan Graham there, he'll appreciate a shout out. He's at the saying that they've announced the signing just there now. But I do, just back to Bastian Heary, and we're talking about players leaving the league. It'd be great to have him back in the league because he was a quality player. And again, I go back to Waterford and the fans, and they all have been. I'm in a Waterford group on Facebook, and they're all talking about how amazing he is and how amazing he was at the club and something like that. They all wanted him back, and they're all saying like announce Heary, a bit like Stephen Beattie signing back with Cork, but they were a bit like announce Heary. They really wanted that to happen, but it doesn't look like it's going to be going to Waterford. It looks like Bows have made that transfer. They've got Malin now as well, so they look like they're in good shape. Even if they do lose Andre Wright, they look like they're in good shape even still.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. They'll probably want to kick on again from last year. They had a very good season last year. Fell away just towards the end, lost a couple of games they maybe should have done better in. Thinking of the Waterford one in particular that Jer was at when Tyreek Wilson got both the goals, I think. He's there now as well. That's another great signing for them. So, there's going to be opportunities, I suppose, with those lads going out. So it's going to be a new squad. We'll wait to see what happens. But I think they're good signings and they're hitting the ground running straight away.
Yeah, but I think as well, like, there has been a lot of players that have left Bows. I mean, as strikers, you're talking about Glenn McCauley's left, Danny Corcoran, and now Andre Wright. So they will have to get strikers in. Dan Mandreo's after leaving as well for Rovers as well. So they have lost a lot of forwards, but it'll be up to them now, obviously, to get a couple of players in before the window shuts or whatever. Because they did sell some players to Shells as well. You know, JJ Lunny, who I thought was a great player. He's left in contra Shells Barker as well. So they have sold a lot of players, or players have left or whatever, so they will need to, I suppose, bring in players, especially because they're going to be in Europe and they're going to look to kick on from last season as well. It's just there. Adam Murray just says, "Hi lads, do you think there's room for Egan and Stevens in Premier League sides next season?" Paul, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, well, I think we actually spoke about this last week as well, definitely about Enda Stevens anyway. I think it'd be a tough one for him, maybe because all the teams in the league seem to have set left fulls, and I can't actually think of a team that would be looking for a left full. So he'd definitely do a job for any of the teams, but it's just they're all kind of set at the minute, and they've all kind of just signed left backs. You look at McGoldrick nearly got in there, good save by Darlow. I think it
was straight at him.
Straight at him. He probably could have done better. I was just being nice because it's McGoldrick, because it's Dizzy. He's actually offside there. He'd probably get given that. I think with Stevens it's a tough one. You know, all the teams kind of have set left backs, like I've said. With Egan, I think he could do a job maybe at the likes of Crystal Palace. You know, he'd be a good player to come in at West Ham. I wouldn't even mind if Arsenal bid in for him, because I don't think he's any worse than David Luiz, Mustafi, players who are already there. I mean, and you'd get him at a decent price as well. You don't know how much you'd have to bid for him, but I think you could get him. He's a decent player, and you get him at a decent price. I think maybe Egan more so than Stevens. But I think Stevens, it's not that he's not a good enough player, it's just because all the teams have set left backs at the minute.
Yeah, sorry, I can't even speak. We had spoken about that obviously last week about Stevens. Like, if he did leave a team, what team would he get into in terms of a team in the Premier League? Because everyone has, it seems like a really good left back. So it would be interesting to see kind of where he could end up, like somewhere like Newcastle. where there's Irish lads, it might not be a bad option because he's got Clark, Hendrick. I think he's mates with Jeff as well. So I think that one would make sense if they were looking for a left back. I mean, they've got what? Dummett. I mean, he's not amazing, is he? So
No.
I think Enda Stevens could do a job. Sorry.
Yeah,
what?
I think the thing with Dummett is he always seems to be playing and he's always there. So I mean, I think he's been there a while as well. But again, I'd say Stevens is a better player than him anyway for sure. So again, a good point about Newcastle there. Anyway, and there's a couple of Irish lads like you mentioned. I think as well, in terms of staying with Sheffield United, I don't think that'd be the worst thing. I think Sheffield United will get kicking now in a few weeks. Even if they do still go down, I think they'll definitely be in the hunt to come straight back up anyway, because they're definitely, like, most of those players will stay on as well, and those players are definitely Championship, lower Premier League quality anyway.
Yeah, I think with that, like, you look at Enda Stevens, the only thing that's against him is his age, because he is 31, excuse me, and for the bombing on left back, that's not a good age to be. Whereas with Egan, he's 28, 29. He's still got about 5 years left playing Premier League if he wants to. Whereas I think with Stevens, he's probably got 2 more years in terms of being an absolute bombing on. Like, look at Seamus Coleman now, he's 31. He doesn't make those runs that he used to do, and if he does, he keeps getting injured. So he keeps getting hamstring injuries. I mean, look, he's had 2 already this season. So it depends on, is he willing to adapt his game and go to a club and be a left back, but be a defensive left back over time? Because, you know, he's been brilliant since he's gone to Sheffield United. He's helped them get up, you know, promoted, and he's been a key part. He was brilliant last season as well. Top 3 left backs in the Premier League for me last season. With his performances, I felt that it was really, really good, consistent. Played, I think, every game, started every game anyway. Really, really good last year, but I think this season maybe they've seen signs of those injuries because he's not playing tonight. He was injured coming up to the last international qualifying games and Nations League games. He was injured for. So maybe injuries are going to catch up on him now, but I hope not, because I like him and I think he's a great player and I like the way he plays. But I do think that if he maybe leaves Sheffield United, he might need to look at adapting his game. Sorry to go the long way around that, but it is what it is.
No, you're dead right. Like, a lot of players have had to do that. You look at even Gerrard, and he was coming towards the end. He just had to play a deeper role, and it's the same in every position, really, isn't it? Especially with the fitness levels and the speed of the game now, it's just what has to be done. And I'm sure Stevens will do it, whether he stays at Sheffield United or heads off to another club.
Yeah, well, you know, I think Egan would be a great asset for even a top 10 team. I really do. I think just the way he commands everything, he's a leader, he's a captain, obviously. But he's a warrior as well. So he's the type, if you're a defensive team, but he can still play out from the back and something like Brighton or something he might be perfect for. But I think they're kind of going with a younger approach with bringing in Webster and Ben White and stuff like that. So if it feels like Duffy couldn't get in there because of them. So, but I think Egan is a better ball player anyway, so he can do either or. If you need him to defend, he will. Or if you need him to play with the ball out from the back, he seems comfortable enough doing that. And if you need to leave him at the back as the last man, he's comfortable doing that as like a sweeper almost, which he does pretty much for Sheffield United most weeks. So I think he'd be a good signing for anyone coming up and anyone looking to stay in the league. And then you're kind of looking, what team in the top 10? I mean, like a top 10 usually every year. I mean, team, not maybe someone who's in the top 10 now and just kind of look at this, just get there for this season. But I think if he was to look at getting into a top 10 side, who would you be thinking? Like Newcastle, they're generally not top 10 anymore.
Would you take him at
Everton?
Everton?
Who is even top 10, you know? What?
Would you take him at Everton?
He wouldn't get in at Everton because they have Mina, Keane, Holgate and Godfrey, so they don't really need him. He'd just be a backup. Obviously, as Irish fans, we want to see these players go to clubs and be first choice in a selfish, biased way, because we want them to obviously be doing well for Ireland and stuff. But I don't know. I just don't think Everton need him. Would I like him there? Yes, but don't need him. So there'd be no point to just be being greedy and take the player and not playing him. I think, but I think who could he go to that would be really really good? Leicester or something instead of Johnny Evans. I still think Johnny Evans probably get ahead of him.
He is coming to the end as well. That's the thing with Johnny Evans. He's getting a bit older now. Maybe it'll be time to replace, because obviously Sancho was there as well, and he's a good defender. So, like, I mean, I don't think, I'm not sure what age Evans is, but he's definitely been around.
33.
Yeah, he's been around a while now, so it could be coming towards the end, maybe in the end in the Premier League anyway, at that level, you know.
Yeah, but he could be just there as backup as well, you know, around the dressing room or whatever, Evans, and someone like Egan maybe come in. But this is all speculation. There has been no rumours of these players leaving, and they may go down and come back up with Sheffield, as Paul has said. Terry Curtis says, Flores has signed with Hull. We knew that. But yeah, he's not Irish anyway, but he's obviously left Dundalk after scoring screamer after screamer for Dundalk, and he's gone back to Hull. He's from Wigan, I think, anyway, so he'll be happy, he'll be closer to home now. And, you know, good luck to him, because I thought he was a good servant while he had his time here. He scored a really nice goal in the Europa League there against, wasn't it, Arsenal? He scored it, and then he scored a cracker the week before. That was at Rapid Vienna, I think, or Molde. It was one of them anyway. But yeah, he's been a good servant. Obviously scored that absolute rocket of a goal against Rovers as well, which brought a lot of traction to the league, you could say. So you got to thank him in that sense and wish him well, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. He done great, particularly for Dundalk. He was fantastic. Scored screamer after screamer, like you've mentioned. And getting a goal against Arsenal, well, it's kind of easy enough at the minute. But, I mean, it's no mean feat. It was a great goal as well, scoring in the Aviva too. And obviously nominated for that Puskas Award. Didn't go all the way, but a great goal, and done great stuff for Dundalk when he was there too.
Yeah, because I think he was coming across with a bad injury and stuff like that. I think it was mentioned that he was coming across. He had a good reputation at Wigan, and then he got a bad injury. But I think he's probably over the worst of it now, considering he's scoring worldies every time he plays, pretty much. But Ushbosh says Pats are assembling a very good side, aiming for top 4. I'd say. For me, every season I say this about Pats. They look like they've assembled a really good squad. Then they look like they're going to do well. They have a good start to the season, and then they kind of get really inconsistent. They'll win a game, they'll lose 3, they'll draw 2, and then they'll win 1 again, and they'll pick up a bit of momentum. And they're always there or thereabouts in terms of the European places, but they just never... It's been a long time since they've shown real kind of a drive to get themselves near the top of the league. Albeit they'll finish in Europe maybe, but they don't do anything in Europe. Now, no, obviously, not a lot of our clubs do well in Europe anyway, up until recently. So, but I'd like to see them do more. I think their squad has a lot of quality. I would like to see them do more and compete more, maybe for the league and stuff like that. That's just my opinion, though. What about yourself?
Yeah, like Pats are a big club as well. They've kind of gone very quiet the last while as well. They signed a couple of lads last year. Forrester came back in as well, and a lot of things were pinned on them. But the first couple of weeks, you've seen them on the opening night against Waterford. They're beaten 1-0. I seen them against Shells a couple of weeks after, beaten 1-0 again. As you mentioned, they lose games like that. Then they can go up to Derry and win 2-0 in between those 2 games. And it's just inconsistent, you know, and that's the problem with Pats, really. They're obviously trying to stamp that out. It's a tough job. I still think they're a bit off the Rovers anyway, Rovers and Bows anyway. So it's going to be tough for them. But I mean, the signing today was very good, and they brought in a couple of other lads. So I mean, it could be a good year for Pats. You don't know. It depends on the start as well. And again, they started poorly last year, started slowly, and then that affects the whole season really. So a good start is what they need, and if they keep bringing in these lads, they'll get that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I just have to see, because you know I hate making predictions at the start of the season, and next of all you just made it look like an absolute idiot, because the team that you think are going to do really well are doing really bad. Like I'd say the amount of people that would have said Sheffield United would have been in top 15 in the league, in the Premier League, and the rock bottom. and have the worst points tally since Derby, as you said, or worse than Derby.
It's I
Ush
think
Bosch,
with
sorry,
yeah,
go on.
I think with Sheffield United as well. You remember their first game of the season was against Wolves this year. They were 2-0 down within a couple of minutes, and I mean, even that in itself kind of knocks the wind right out you straight away. 4 or 5 minutes into your season, conceding 2 goals that quickly, especially when you're not known for conceding that many goals as well. So it's probably a shock to the system, and maybe they haven't. Obviously, they've had a few different results as well, but maybe they haven't really recovered from that as well. You know.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. But just moving on to Ush Bosch again with another comment. He says, big signing that for Bowes. Malin was the bright spark of that dour Derry team last season. He was really good. I remember him scoring a couple of goals early on, and was really, really good. Looked like a really good player. But yeah, I think he's a really good signing. What are you thinking? You haven't seen him, have you? You didn't see
No,
him play, you said.
I've seen him on the highlights. I haven't seen him live. Now, obviously, you get a bit more of an idea when you see them live. You know yourself as well. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see Derry, but yeah, I heard good things about him. Jerry seen him a couple of times. You did as well. So you were telling me about him, and I think it's a good move going to Bowes. They're a very ambitious club at the minute. Very highly thought of in the league the last couple of years. So I think it's a good move, and obviously we'll get to see more of them now because obviously most of the games I cover are in Dublin, so like hopefully I'll get more of an opportunity now as well. And but I have heard good things, and Bowes are doing well in the transfer market so far as well. So
yeah, it's been a good day. So they snapped up Bastian Heary now and Stephen Manning as well. So that's a good day for Bowes fans, even though Andre Wright's training with Kilmarnock, but nothing confirmed there yet. Biagio Emmanuel says, come on Geordie boys. He must be a Newcastle fan. Here's a good question from Michael Marney, who is a regular contributor in terms of comments. He says, who has had the best season thus far of all Irish players in the Premier League? Oh, that's a good question because there hasn't been many.
I honestly, from when I've watched Sheffield United, I think McGoldrick has been very good since he retired. I think he's got a couple of goals. He's done very well, and he set up a couple of things as well. I think he set up the goal against Brighton they got a couple of weeks ago in the match I was watching. He scored against Arsenal too in the Emirates when I was watching. Scored at Stamford Bridge. Always seems to get a goal against Chelsea. I think Callum Robinson has done okay with West Brom. It's a poor West Brom team, let's be real. But he got a brace against Chelsea as well. He got a goal given offside against Arsenal, but he's probably been one of the bright sparks in a poor West Brom side. So they're the two that I can, like, the two standouts for me. But as you said, there hasn't been many.
I'm gonna say Dara O'Shea.
Dara O'Shea.
I think he's played well against the bigger teams. I think he's done well. I think it's been a good breakthrough season for him so far. The season's not over now, as you said. They're a bit of a struggling side. Obviously, their manager got sacked, but I don't think they're struggling as bad as Sheffield United. And I think Dara O'Shea has adapted to life in the Premier League very, very well for someone of his age. I think he adapted very well to international football as well. Came in seamlessly. Looked like he's played his whole life at that level. You know, I just don't think he looked out of place whatsoever. I think he could be one that could walk into Stephen Kenny's side in March. I think he's been playing that good. Just a chance there. I think it was Callum Wilson just headed wide of the post. Still 0-0, 27 minutes played for anyone who is joining and wanted to know the score. Yeah, I think O'Shea, and funny that kind of brings us to the next question, because David Salter, who again is another person who regularly contributes in the comments. I hope you're well, David. He says, would you start O'Shea beside Egan in March? Last exam tomorrow. Honda lads, good luck in your exam. And I suppose I'll let you answer that, Paul, because I've kind of spoken about O'Shea there, my thoughts on him already.
Yeah, well, he's definitely played the most in between the rest of the centre halves this season. Anyway, he's played well. Again, it isn't a struggling side, so maybe we don't. You would have noticed it a bit more than me, because you know they are still constantly conceding goals. But Sam Allardyce has come in now, and I know it hasn't started too well for him, but I'm sure that'll be good for him as well. For me, I definitely think Egan should be in anyway. He's right there. Obviously, I want to lean towards Shane Duffy because of what he does do for Ireland, but his form just hasn't been there he was good last night. I only seen the highlights myself. Maybe poor for the goal that Celtic did eventually let in, but it's been a rough year for Duffy. I'm not sure myself. I still think we've got another month of action before we start thinking about it. So I'm not too sure. Maybe let it play out for another month or so and see what happens. But I definitely have Egan in anyway. I think he's been consistent even in a poor Sheffield United side, and yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think there is still a lot of football to be played between now and March. It's 2 months of football. And I think if you were going off form right now, I think you'd probably have to put him in, even though I know Serbia is going to be a big game, but he seemed like he could handle the pressure anyway. And he's done well against, as I mentioned, the top teams in the Premier League when he's played against them. I thought he done well against Liverpool. Thought he done well against Man City as well. I think they drew 1-1 in both of those games that he was playing. So I watched him as well against Everton. I know the game was 5-2 or whatever, but Kieran Gibbs got sent off, and then that's when Everton started getting their goals. But before that, he was quite good in that game too. And the thing about Dara is you cannot.
Big chance you just about to see
it. Just came up as you said it, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, I just thought you headed it over. No, you're all good. And then. Yeah, so watching O'Shea, and the fact that he's so versatile, so he can play right back, left back, or whatever. And I think Stephen Kenny trusts him that much that he may, if Enda Stevens isn't playing, he may go with Darragh O'Shea as the left back. And I think that will give license, if he does do that, I think that will give license to Matt Doherty to get forward if he goes with the defensive mind of O'Shea. Because, this is dependent on if Stevens plays or not. Obviously I want Stevens to play because I think he gives us something better on the left naturally, but I think if we are to go with Darragh O'Shea, then we have Matt Doherty will have a bit more license because we have a bit more cover then, and he can just push over then with the other centre backs as well. So I think that's the beauty of having O'Shea there, is that you know that he's reliable and he's solid and he can come in and fill the void there. And don't forget, we've got Kieran Clark as well, who I think Phil had tweeted out that this is his 11th consecutive start this season, so he's really starting to get a run of games together and looks really, really good. I know, look, he tripped over the ball the other night and kind of got tangled under his legs and gave away a goal in extra time, but I think he's been a real rock for Newcastle, and I think he's a very good defender. Obviously, he played in the Euros and whatever, has that experience and stuff like that, so I think he could actually be the one that partners Egan in defence. So I think we're blessed in that department though, because we still have Kevin Long. I know he's not playing for Burnley, but he still can come in and do a job for us and has done. Then you have Nathan Collins may come in. You've got Shane Duffy as well. I just think I'd almost like for Shane Duffy to finish his loan from Celtic now at this rate, because just no matter what he's done, it's just everyone in Celtic fans just abuse him. I think he's came off social media now. A few people have messaged me saying that he's came off social media because of the abuse. Now I don't know about that, because he left Dubai because of a family reason, and I don't know the whole ins and outs of it, so I wouldn't speculate that, but he might have just come off for that. So I think for people to say that he deleted his accounts, he might just have deactivated them for a couple of days and just needed a couple of days off, which I would recommend for most footballers, because I actually went through a couple of our Irish lads' Instagram profiles the other day just to kind of look at the comments that they've been getting, and interestingly enough, I was looking through Jeff Hendrick's recent comments, and some of the stuff that's directed at the players is absolutely horrible. Like he just put up a picture of him in a Newcastle top, I think it was the jersey they're wearing now, and he just put Newcastle FC and a couple of hearts or whatever, and then everyone's just like, you're shit, get out of our club, you're shit, you're the worst player ever. And then I went to one of the posts, and if anyone's watching, they might go and check it out, and I just looked at one of the comments. It was from a Cardiff fan, and they were like, you're absolutely shit, I hope someone makes a horrible tackle on you and ends your career and stuff like that. And this is the stuff that footballers are reading, and it's just wrong. You shouldn't be allowed to say stuff like that to people. Like, why would you bother as well? You must be that miserable in life that you have to go around and say that to people and say it to players. Now I'd imagine Duffy was getting worse, because I have seen some stuff, not on his maybe Instagram, but I have seen stuff online, and if you go through Twitter and search his name and stuff like that, you will see horrible stuff aimed at him and about him. And I just think it's horrible, because he went there because he loved the club, and he mentioned in his interview when he signed about his dad would have been so proud of him going there and stuff like that. And then you have all that abuse. It would make you almost turn against it. You'd just be like, well, I don't like playing for this club or whatever. So I'd love to see him maybe get out of there, because I just think at the moment it's just not really working out for him. And sometimes loan moves work, sometimes they don't. And I'm not saying that Duffy's a bad player, because for the last 2 years for Ireland he's been our best player. So I don't think you can go from being our best player at international level to being a player that can't do well for Celtic. And I think it might be beneficial for him to end his loan and maybe go to Nottingham Forest. But it's only speculation, and there's been nothing concrete in those links to say that or anything like that. So I think everyone right now is speculating. If he did say Celtic and turned it around, brilliant, and I would say that he has great character if he can manage to turn it around there. The only thing is now he'll be remembered from going there and then not winning the 10 in a row. Now I think that's the only thing that's going to go against him at the moment, and that's not his fault. That's a team thing, not necessarily him,
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think it's been a tough time for him, been a tough time for Celtic in general. I think the way they've handled all these COVID guidelines as well hasn't helped the club. They're always getting positive tests. They all went to Dubai last week. I'm completely baffled as to why they'd done that. I know a lot of clubs did as well, particularly in the WSL in England, they did too. It just seems like a ridiculous decision at the minute. Now, obviously, if you can take any positives from a bit of an outbreak, is that he might get a run of games, because he did leave that camp, and he'll get a run of games, might help him to get his form going again, because obviously those lads have to isolate for a couple of weeks now. One of them being Julian, who would be playing centre half, so he's going to get a couple of games, and maybe he'll stay on at Celtic then, because I don't think they're going to want him cutting the loan short now that they need him for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, he did play last night, and I just think he's very unlucky. So it seems that no matter what he does, he has a really good game, and then one thing happens, and before you know it, it's a goal. Like they scored late on Hibs last night, and people were saying it was his fault for the goal from his clearance or whatever. So it's just, no matter what he seems to do at the moment, it just doesn't seem to be going well. But hopefully he can just get over this adversity and get back to doing what he does best. And obviously we all want him to do well. So hopefully hopefully things turn around from up there. Axel Fox says, "Hey lads, hey Axel, how are you?" Sorry, we're getting around to your comment now. The Rad Dad, the legendary lad, says, who should play up top versus Serbia? Oh, that is a good question. I don't think we should really answer that right now, because I think there's a lot of football to be played, and you just don't know who's going to be available, because you always get the injuries that happen as the squad's being announced. You always get that, and they come in on the Sunday, and then you find out someone's not playing and this. But if I was going for it right now, and I was going for a central striker, and Paul, you'd already mentioned him earlier on, I would go with Callum Robinson maybe as the central striker. Or if he's going with a two, I'd like to see Aaron Connolly and Callum Robinson as a front two. And if not, then if he's going with a front three, I would like to see Aaron Connolly just off the left of Callum Robinson, because I think you've got a bit of speed there, and you've got players who are going to run at them. Here's good defending. Was it John Egan? Yeah, good defending. So that's probably who I would say, but I don't want to go too much into it, because you just don't know with form and with timing and injuries and stuff like that who will be around. But if you had a gun to my head now, it would probably be Callum Robinson as the centre forward. What about you, Paul?
I was thinking maybe more along the lines of, I would have a two, and I would look at, if Aaron Connolly is fit, I think I'd have him up there. And I think James Collins might work well with one of those lads coming off him, maybe if it was Robinson or Connolly. Personally, I'd have Connolly, because I just think he's a better player than Robinson. And I just think Collins, he's a big man, and it works in international football. It's proved with France and Giroud. He knocks it down to the lads who run off him, and it works. That's the game at the minute in international football. I think he deserves an opportunity, because he's been very good for Luton. Luton have been playing very well, and he gets a lot of goals with them. So I think he deserves an opportunity, even though he has had opportunities and it hasn't really worked out. He's been up there on his own, and he's not that kind of striker. So maybe if you put a second lad up with him, it could work. But I think the three lads we've mentioned there are all in with a shout anyway.
Yeah, Yeah, well, as I said, we can't really go into it too much because we have to kind of wait and see. But MC Sweeney says, do you think Cork City could go back up again? Now, Paul, I think you're probably the best person to answer this because you've seen a lot of first division, football last year in the League of Ireland, and you'd kind of know kind of the basis of the squads and stuff like that who were down there, and obviously teams have added players. Sorry, my phone was going off there. Teams have added players, and now it's looking like I think Shells have assembled a really good squad. Cork have just signed Stephen Beattie and a couple of other players, but a lot of them are quite young. So looking around the rest of the teams and stuff like that, what are you thinking in terms of who's going to come up and who's going to stay in the league?
Well, I think there's going to be several teams going for it anyway. I seen a lot of UCD and Bray last year in particular, and I think UCD, okay, obviously Yo-Yo Maddie's gone to Shells, but they still have Colin Whelan, who got a lot of goals as well. You know, like, okay, one of the strikers is gone, who got the majority of their goals. They still have the other striker who got the majority of their goals as well. UCD always have young lads coming through. They play football the right way. And sorry, excuse me. I think they'll be thereabouts. The problem with UCD is sometimes they try and play too much football, and that's what lets them down overall. If I look at Bray with Gary Cronin there, they've signed a couple of lads in. Connor Clifford is one as well. That's a very good signing. Gary Shaw up front, he's a solid striker. Oh, good defending by Dummett there. Nearly went across to
was
Lundstrom. Yeah, he done well. Still in play actually. As I was saying, Bray, yeah, they're strong outfit. Yeah, Bray are strong. They don't concede many goals, and Gary Cronin's a good manager. He has them playing good stuff. They've got young Darrell Lynch as well. He's done very well. Got a lot of goals. I think Bray will be up there along with UCD. Galway are another ones to mention. John Caulfield is the manager. They signed Ronan Manning from Athlone, who was really, really good in what you would say a poor Athlone team last year. But they did get to the cup.
Ryan Manning's brother.
Yeah, Ryan Manning's brother. Yeah, very good player. I seen him against Cabinteely, and he ran rings around them that night. They only ended up drawn, but they should have won. He was brilliant that night. Their three I'd put in with Galway going full time as well. It's going to be a big thing for them, and they came so good towards the end there last year, and were obviously beaten by Longford, who did eventually get up themselves. Nearly a goal again. Darlow, good save.
So just if anyone's watching and they don't know, so we are watching the game while we are talking about this, and so if Paul is stopping to say something, it's obviously something's happened in the game. So just in case you don't know, I'm sure you are aware, but if you don't, sorry, Paul, go on.
Yeah. Obviously those three I've mentioned from last year, they'd be my three favourites from the teams that are still in that division. Then you've got Athlone, who brought in a load of players. Adrian Carberry is down there managing them. He done a good job last year, even though they did struggle at the start and towards the middle. They started playing good stuff and did get to a cup semi-final as well and got a couple of decent results. Beat the champions. Beat the champions, draw it away from home as well, which is no mean feat. But I do think Shells are the strongest team in that league with the players they've bought. Yo-Yo Maddie coming in, he knows how to score in that league. He's top scorer in
Michael O'Connor as well.
Michael O'Connor too. Yeah, they've brought in loads, and they've kept some of the lads from the promotion year as well, which is good to see. So there's lads there that know how to get the job done, and I do think Shells are the strongest side there without being biased and without jinxing it. I do think they are the strongest side. Cork, on the other hand, you mentioned they brought in some lads. They kept Morrissey as well. You know, that's important too. A bit of experience, but
easy is good for them as well.
Yeah. He seems to love the club on Instagram and Twitter as well. Always talking about when he was there before too. So again, it's a great signing to bring him back. But I think with Cork, there's just so many things going on. It might take a couple of seasons, and there's just teams down in that league already that are they're just a bit more set than Cork might be. So for me, I'd have to put Shells up there, and I think Galway will be the next strongest side because of Caulfield and the job he done coming in last year. He was fantastic, and they nearly went up in the end after not winning a game before that. So Galway and Shells maybe the strongest two for me, and then the rest were kind of battled out in the playoffs and stuff, you know.
Yeah, so I would have to agree with you on that. I think Shells are the strongest. That will. Never mind. There's a foul on one of the defenders there. Callum Wilson had the ball in the back of the net, but it's been disallowed. It's just come up to half time here, 0-0 in Sheffield United and Newcastle. There's a couple of more comments coming in there. Here we go. Mick Killeen, just quickly on Shane Duffy, says they say the problem with Duffy at Celtic is he's not used to playing with a team with a lot of the ball. He's best as an out and out defender. He's not a ball playing centre half. I think that we've covered this one before, and someone's saying a red card for Fraser in the comments, but anyway, I think we've covered that one before, and it's that's what he is. He's an out and out defender, and I'm not really going to get into the whole thing of why he should be playing there or whatever. Dave Donnelly says, great work lads, great promotion of Irish players. Here's a good comment here from Liam McNamara. He says, thoughts on Jamie McGrath potentially breaking into the Irish setup if he continues his great form?
Oh, there's the red card there. It's going to come up for you now.
Yeah, second yellow.
Yeah, on McGoldrick.
Yeah, well, actually, Jeff Hendrick was slating Fraser for his Byrne on Instagram yesterday. I don't know if you saw that, and they were calling him and Andy Carroll were calling him Aguero.
God, Fraser hasn't painted himself in glory since he went there, but as well when last year the whole thing with Bournemouth when he wouldn't play, you know, it hasn't really worked out for him at Newcastle in the end trying to get that move.
It was a bit soft. Oh, it was the second yellow though. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a yellow anyway.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking if it was a straight red that I'd be appealing that, but yeah, second yellow can't really say too much. This is good though for Sheffield United because 10 men.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sorry. I was watching it there myself as well. They've got a great chance now to get their first win of the season. They won on Saturday. They should take it on from there, and I think they will win because I just think Newcastle are going to sit in now, and it's just going to be constant Sheffield United pressure in the second half, and I think they will eventually break through and get the win, first win of the season.
But just back to Liam's comments, because obviously the red card just disrupted that. We're about to talk about it. But do you think that Jamie McGrath can potentially break into the Irish team? He's obviously doing really, really well at St Mirren at the moment. I think he's got 7 goals for the season. He takes the penalties as well. And got a couple of goals against Rangers there recently as well, which kind of propelled him a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, I always say this about internationals. You should call in the informed players as much as you can. I know it's a big squad to bring in, and you have to look around other than just that, because maybe not everyone's going to be informed. But I think, he deserves a chance. Why not? I mean, there's going to be, by the sound of it, there's going to be 3 games in March, isn't there? Or 2, or definitely 2 anyway, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean...
One against Qatar and then the 2 qualifiers.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, why not? You know, why not? He's in form. He's scoring goals. He's in a cup semi-final with St Mirren, which you don't say too often. Why not? You know, why not? I think he deserves an opportunity, and he's been one of the best Irish players in Europe this year, so why not? Yeah,
well, I think the fact that he's worked with Stephen Kenny before is going to be a massive positive for him. If he can keep going the way he's going, and who knows, he may get a move then. Hopefully it's maybe, for just say he stays in the SPL, maybe it's Celtic or someone like that. That would be great. And if he didn't, maybe he got a move to a club in England or even abroad. But I would like to see him go up another level now, because he's obviously a talented player, and I'd love to see what he could offer. And I think maybe the Qatar game might not be a bad game to bring him in and have a look at him, because what else do we have? And we're obviously lacking that player. We've got Jack Byrne there, we've got Jeff Hendrick there, and we've probably got Jamie McGrath. They'd probably be the 3 that you'd put in there if you're kind of looking at the player that plays that just behind the striker position. I think Jack Byrne's more of a creative player who'll see passes and play them in more so than Jeff, and he likes to get on the ball a bit more than Jeff as well. With McGrath as well, I think he can do stuff like that, but it's about whether or not he could make it the step up to that level. I believe he could if he's given the opportunity. I think Stephen Kenny would give him the confidence that he needs, but maybe look at the game against Qatar to maybe bring him in, but I wouldn't risk him in a qualifying game. And I think that's what he's done with Jack Byrne as well. He's waiting for the friendly games, or the games that maybe we weren't going to win, and brought me in there because he did play Jack Byrne quite late in the game towards the end of the Nations League games. Was it the England game he came on for?
Yeah, he came on against Wales in the Nations League as well, and I think that was the one he got the most time in too. He came on late against Bulgaria when everyone was calling for him. But again, I'd agree with you. You know, I'd agree with you. Yeah, like the Qatar game is the one. Give these lads an opportunity. Like, we don't know what Qatar are like. They're obviously going to be hosting the next World Cup, so it's an opportunity for them to show themselves off to the world. So, I think it'd be a good opportunity, and obviously game time is important. So, definitely deserves an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, let's see how he gets on. There's a couple of other comments there we've already kind of answered. Jack Allen says, do you think Egan and Stevens will get a move back to the Prem if Sheffield United get relegated? We've already covered that. Yes, they could, and we'll wait and see kind of what happens with them. But we've already kind of spoken, saying that a top 10 club both could go to. It's just a matter of kind of who. In other news, so Kyle Dean says, hit the likes. Kyle knows what's up. He goes, hi lad, big Ireland fan. Kylan, sorry. I hope I said that right. Thanks very much, Kylan. Just quickly, another obviously news story from today was obviously that Sligo Rovers have announced a strategic partnership with Everton. So I just on their website here, the Sligo Rovers can today announce a new strategic partnership with English Premier League side Everton Football Club. The new agreement will see Sligo Rovers and Everton partner on several initiatives and cross-promotional activities, including fan engagement, marketing and content collaborations. Sligo Rovers and Everton Academy coaches will also develop relationships, and there will also be the opportunity for pre-season training bases for academy teams at both clubs. The clubs will exchange knowledge across both coaching and business operations. The hugely successful Sligo Rovers camps for children will be expanded for the development of joint camps, which include improved services, access and more coaching and enjoyment for participants. The Bit of Red view this partnership as an ideal chance to expand our football club, acquire new skills and knowledge, open up new opportunities for coaches and players, grow our fan base, and all the while maintaining our model and remit as a community-driven and supporter-owned club. Throughout the storied history of Rovers and the Blues, there has been a wealth of links between both players and fans. Most notably, Seamus Coleman made the move from Sligo Rovers as a 20-year-old to join the Toffees in 2009. Coleman has gone on to make nearly 300 appearances for the Blues and become captain for the club and country. In 1939, Everton joined Dixie Dean, signed for Sligo Rovers, scoring 10 goals in 7 games and helped Rovers to the final of the FAI Cup. His time at Sligo Rovers is celebrated to this day and remains one of the most unique and special chapters in the history of Rovers. The clubs have played each other in several friendlies across different age groups, and most recently Everton fans heavily supported the Bit of Red Supporters Trust campaign, which raised more than €85,000 to allow us fund the remainder of the 2020 season, which ultimately ended in European qualification. Everton Football Club, one of the most well-known names in English football, currently sit 4 points from the top of the Premier League. The Goodison Park Club have a decorated and storied presence in Merseyside for over 140 years, maintaining Irish links throughout this period, and an exciting future ahead under manager Carlo Ancelotti. Sligo Rovers chairman Tommy Higgins says, this is a very positive day for Sligo Rovers. We have a shared history with Everton Football Club over many decades, and I believe we also have the same principles and ambition to grow. They are a perfect fit for a collaboration such as this. Partnering with Everton will allow us to improve in many key areas, such as commercial activity, fan services, and also the development of our academy coaches, which is of utmost importance. We have very talented staff and a group of coaches at the club who will learn and develop from the basis of this link-up. We hope it is the beginning of a very fruitful partnership, and perhaps in time more names will be added to those that have proudly represented Sligo Rovers and Everton. Our initial focus is beginning this partnership and seeing the benefits for all parties. We're delighted to welcome Everton as our new strategic partner. We have 2 passionate sets of supporters who now will be cheering each other on. There's also more there, but I'm going to skip down to what Seamus Coleman said. He says, I'm delighted with this partnership between the 2 clubs close to my heart in Sligo and Everton. I'll be forever grateful to Sligo for giving me the start of my professional football career, and for helping pave the way for my move to Everton, the club I am proud to captain and represent each and every day. This partnership will benefit both clubs. In particular, can provide support to Sligo from the social and economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Now, I've gone on a bit there, so I apologise, but that's to give you the basic lowdown. So I can just if there's anyone who may not know, like Dixie Dean is a record holder with Everton. He scored 60 goals in one season. That's just league goals, which is still a record not broken. So he obviously went then to Sligo, so that's a huge deal for them. Seamus Coleman going from Everton to Sligo. And as back in 2017, there was a charity cycle as well, which I was actually helping out with. So there was from the showgrounds to Goodison Park via the boat from Holyhead. So that's what they would do. But they stopped actually from the showgrounds to Dalymount. And we had food and drink and stuff like that with the Irish toffees and stuff like that. So there is a bit of a link there anyway. So they raised a load of money cycling from the showgrounds to Goodison Park, and I think it was for Everton in the community and stuff like that. I think they raised 60 grand, or that was the target that they raised. Obviously Seamus Coleman went for 60 grand there, and that's the link there. But I think this, from reading that there, and I think this is a good link. What are your thoughts on it? It might be a lot of info to take in.
Well, I think it's fantastic for Sligo, and it's fantastic for Irish football as well. That's one thing. We've got a club going in the right direction at the minute, with a manager who's won several European Cups with AC Milan and Real Madrid. A club on the up, a club that gave opportunities all the time to young players, including Seamus Coleman when he went over there as well. And I think it's fantastic for Sligo as well, and fantastic for the country. And it's just going to see more and more players coming through and playing the right way.
I think it will be interesting though, because I think you will see a lot more of Everton coming over to play at the showgrounds, and maybe vice versa. I think that might be a pre-season thing going forward now with what I read there. Obviously they'll have camps and stuff like that, but I think maybe a couple more clubs might link in with clubs like that, and you might start seeing a couple more partnerships and seeing how they go. But that one for me, it makes sense because of the links there over the years, and I think it's one of those that just has a good synergy, and it's just a good fit, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like obviously they've had stuff down the years. You mentioned Dixie Dean as well, going all the way back to that. So I mean, there's links there all the way through, and I'm actually not surprised with it at all, to be honest. Like, it's fantastic. It's fantastic for Sligo. It's fantastic for the west of Ireland as well. You think of down there at the minute with coronavirus, it's probably a lot worse than a lot of places. Sligo, it'd be fantastic for them. The showgrounds is a fantastic ground. I'm sure the camps will be brilliant for the kids as well. They'll learn a lot. And again, Everton are a good club. They play the right way. They've got a great manager. They're going the right way at the minute. So it's fantastic.
It's obviously good to have the Ireland captain as well, kind of front and centre of the whole thing as well, which obviously comes across well for Sligo and Everton. He's captain of both. But I think it's a great partnership, and we'll see what it brings. Hopefully it brings through a few more internationals that go on to captain the country, because Seamus has been there obviously since 2009, and what a player he's gone on to be for both Everton and Ireland. And obviously was captain of the Euro 2016 tournament as well for Ireland, and he was brilliant in that tournament too.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, definitely it's fantastic. And I mean, Seamus has been a great player for both Everton and Ireland. Obviously the broken leg against Wales did affect him, and he's been picking up injuries ever since then, but he still always wants to play, always wants to give 100%, and he's been a great captain for Ireland, and I don't know a person who's a bad thing to say about him either. So I mean, fantastic, and it's fantastic for the country and Sligo as well.
I think one thing that stands out for me with Seamus is if you go to these, like I've been over to Goodison many times, and you would meet the players before the car park or afterwards, and a lot of them would just get in their car and go. Seamus literally goes from the start to the end, pictures, signatures, whatever you want. He does it every single time. Now you can imagine he has 2 young daughters at home and a wife. He'd want to get out of there, and this is like 2 or 3 hours after the game's been played. So he's obviously done his media duties, he's done all that type of stuff, and then he's to go through and sign everything, and he does it with a smile, and he's just a really nice guy, and he's just a great person in general. I've nothing but great things to say. I mean, he's probably my favourite player. Him and Tim Cahill will probably be my 2 favourite players to have ever played for Everton in my generation and lifetime of watching them. Obviously Seamus because of the Irish links and stuff like that, and Tim for what he did in terms of the goals and stuff he scored and how he was. But just I saw a picture of the two of them today because Cahill's helping out with Everton's coaching staff and Cohen was there. It was a great picture of the two of them. Cahill actually posted it, not Cahill, Cahill.
Yeah. No arguments there.
Yeah, no, it wrecks my head when Irish people call him Cahill. Same with Gary Cahill as well. It's like, would you call Martin Cahill Martin Cahill? If he played in the Premier League, people probably would. But anyway, Paul Carney says Louis Barry scored for Villa against Liverpool on Friday. I think he played for Ireland under 16, but now is declared for England. Yes, I think he has, and I'm not really interested in giving him too much coverage. I only want to give Irish players coverage. So Kylan, sorry, I keep saying his name wrong. Kylan Dean says, do you do Arsenal watch-alongs? Yeah, we do, but we mainly try to do when Irish players are playing, so it kind of makes a bit more sense. So, for example, we've got 4 players starting tonight in this game that we're watching. It's half time now, it's 0-0, but we have who's that there? So I was just got distracted with a comment. So mainly we do it if an Irish player may be playing against Arsenal, then we'll probably more likely be doing a watch along. I think that's fair to say. Daniel Deneen says, will Sligo's academy become the best in Ireland, and could the partnership lead to Sligo upgrading the stadium? Who knows? Everton have money behind them now with Mashiri there. So they might look at that, and obviously Usmanov as well, which you'll know from your Arsenal links as well. Those lads are back in Everton now, and Everton have a lot of money. They're moving into a new stadium soon, and they're aiming to be one of Europe's elite at the moment. They have to worry about being one of England's elite first of all, before they can even do any of that. But I mean, it'll be hard because they've got Spurs, Leicester, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, United, City, all those teams vying to stay up there. Chelsea, if I didn't mention them. So you have a lot of teams ahead of them to try and keep up there. It'll all be key to when they move into the new stadium and if they can attract the bigger players. And then I think you'll start seeing the fruits of that with the Sligo thing then when Everton become successful, if they do. I think that'll be more so. But the fact that we'll have players coming across from Ireland can only be a good thing. But it's about then having those players that come back, that they have that assurance that they could maybe go back to a club like Sligo or go back to someone like that, so they don't just fall out of love with the game, that they have a place that they can go back to and they don't just hate football, because it does happen to a lot of players.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned there about Sligo upgrading the stadium. Is that should, like they've already just upgraded it and it looks really well. I haven't been down in it before, but it does look really well when you watch the highlights and whatever. So again, maybe they can go on and upgrade it even further, like Shamrock Rovers are doing with Tala, obviously bringing in another stand now to make it a four-side stadium, so a four-side seater stadium. So yeah, definitely. And in terms of the academy thing, I think it'll give them more of an opportunity. Players will want to join them now because they've got the Everton link. There's more of a chance of players going over to England and getting their opportunity there. And like you mentioned as well, you don't want them coming back hating football. So I think it's good for Everton and good for Sligo as well.
Yeah, 100%. Keelan Flynn says, long-time listener, first-time caller. Great content, lads. Keep up the good work. Thanks very much, Keelan.
Thanks, bud.
And hope you're well. Also, if you're tuning in from anywhere in the world, maybe it's Australia, USA, Canada, wherever, let us know. Some people do be watching us from Thailand sometimes, and just kind of random places like that. So if you are watching, let us know where you're watching for. We'll give you a shout out on the screen as well. The game is just kicking back off here now, the second half. It's 0-0, and Newcastle are down to 10 men. Ryan Fraser got sent off just before half time with a foul on David McGoldrick, obviously the former Irish international.
Yeah, definitely big opportunity now for Sheffield United to get those first 3 points on the board. I do think they will take it. I think Newcastle are just going to sit in and try play on the break. But do they have the players to put that killer pass through to Callum Wilson? That's the problem there. Sheffield United are just going to be pressing. They're pressing already, and there's only a minute and a half gone. So I do think Sheffield United will go on and take the win now, and be fantastic for them, because it's been a very rough season for them so far, and they've been very unlucky a couple of times. Got their first win on the weekend there against Bristol Rovers in the Cup. which is always a good thing to try get your form back going when you win in the cup. So yeah, I think it's a big night for Sheffield United now, and hopefully they get the win.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because there was one other story I wanted to kind of talk to you about, is the coaching situation with Ireland. Damien Duff's obviously left the FAI. He had a massive row with the FAI, it seems, over the video that was shown against before England. It seems he was not a fan of the way it was handled, and I can't really blame him. So he's left the setup. Apparently he wanted to leave the setup in November, and then it was let out that he had made it known then in Christmas time that he wanted to get out, basically, and it told Stephen Kenny, much to his shock. He's gone now. It seems as though he's been a really good coach, and the players really look up to him and what he brings in terms of his experience, what he's done and what he's won in his career, what he's done at Celtic as a coach, and then bringing that to Ireland. He seems to be a very kind of future thinking coach, and one of the modern coaches that you kind of need these days. And I think that's why Stephen Kenny ultimately plucked him from Celtic, and it seemed like a really good decision at the time, but now he is gone. Firstly, what is your thoughts on that, and then I'll kind of talk to you about some of the other players that are linked with the job then after that.
I'm a bit surprised, but after the stuff that came out, obviously what went on with the video and the COVID situation as well a couple of months ago, it's been a tough couple of months for the FAI and Stephen Kenny and the national team. I'm surprised Duff did step down, even though it was reported that he was unhappy, because I don't know, like it just seems like it's constant bad news for Kenny at the minute, for Stephen Kenny at the minute. Lads stepping down, players getting injured before things, players getting COVID. I mean, it's just disappointing that it's happened the way it has. But again, there's rumours now that John O'Shea will step in, and there's a man who's played over 100 times for his country, has played for Man United. It's the same as Duffer. He's played at the highest level, won the biggest trophies. So, I mean, listen, it's disappointing Duffer's gone off, but now it looks like John O'Shea is going to come in, and hopefully we can get going again as soon as possible in the next international break being March, obviously.
Yeah, see, the only thing is there's no guarantee that he's going to come in, O'Shea, because I know it makes sense. I think it makes sense for him to come in, and I would like him to go in, but I think with the fact that he has to get clearance from Reading first of all to be allowed to do it, and they may not do it. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that much of an obstacle, but there was talk then last night then of Lee Carsley coming in. Oh, great save there. Lee Carsley coming in, or John O'Shea, and then it would be kind of how much are the FAI willing to, I suppose, do to lure Carsley away from his role with the FA. He's a really good job there with the FA, with I think it's the under-20s at England, and he's kind of key to developing them and stuff like that. He's done a really good job. You look at all the English players coming through at the moment that Carsley has helped bring through, and he went to the FAI at the start of his coaching and basically offered his, I suppose, offered his services, him and Kilban, and they were both kind of just not even replied to. Like, I did an interview with him before, and he had mentioned it on the interview that he didn't even get a reply from them after voluntarily, saying that he would like to help out or whatever. So I think that still, hurts him. From when I was talking to him, it seemed like it hurt him. I can't confirm it or deny those claims, but it did look like when he was talking about it, he did seem hurt by the fact that no one ever got back to him. So I think he might be out the window. I think John O'Shea is a more realistic shout. He's obviously already on the books with the FAI from the under-21 job, so I think that would make sense. The thing I would say, though, is if you're going to pay Robbie Keane on the payroll, would you not just move John O'Shea up to the senior team? And it's said that Kenny and Keane couldn't work together, it would be impossible. But maybe Jim Crawford and Robbie Keane could work together. So maybe Robbie Keane could come in and help out with the 21s. Now, I know people will give out in the comments or whatever, Keane shouldn't be doing this and that, but if you talk to any of the senior players that played under Keane last year, they all said how much they loved him, and any of the younger players who I did interviews with over lockdown said he was brilliant to have around the camp.
Yeah, definitely. Keane seems like a real character. He's Ireland's record goal scorer as well. I mean, man who's been there, done it, played for Spurs, Liverpool as well, Leeds, played in Italy with Inter Milan. He knows the game, and he knows what he's doing. He was at Middlesbrough. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out there with Jonathan Woodgate. He's with Mick McCarthy as well with Ireland, and he's a man I'd want on my coaching staff. I'd want involved with the squad anyway. He's played at tournaments, he's got experience, and I'm sure the young lads would all look up to him as well. So I don't see an issue with what you said there. Maybe him and Stephen Kenny have obviously had a disagreement in the past. We don't know. We don't know the story there. But what you said there, if O'Shea went up from 21s and then Keane stepped in there, that would work. That would work. Because you want ex-international players getting involved as well. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I was said a guy, Martin Prendergast, he's involved with the London Supporters Club in Luton. And you've probably seen him on Twitter and stuff like that. But he messaged me yesterday and he was telling me that they had basically a webinar, and Damien Duff was on it and Andy Reid was on it, and he was just saying how they were talking. It was with the North American Coaches Association. You probably see them on Twitter as well, the account as well. But they had those on. They regularly have big guests that are Irish or whatever, and they have them coming on talking about their methods and their coaching and stuff like that. And apparently Duff was absolutely unbelievable, and so was Andy Reid. So Andy Reid could be someone who could be, a person to have in there as well, maybe for the 21s if you're not going to put Robbie Keane in there. But I think for Crawford, we don't know what his relationship with Robbie Keane is like as well. And again, we're only speculating here, but I think Stephen Kenny and Jim Crawford are quite close. So that could be, again, something that kind of crosses over there where he wouldn't allow that to happen. Again, there's been no mention of that happening, but if you were to go in an ideal world, then you would think that would make sense, but it doesn't seem like it would, unfortunately.
Yeah, obviously there's so many things coming out. I mean, you don't know what's going on, and you don't want to say something that isn't true or whatever. So, yeah, I'd go with that. But it's a tough one. The FAI and the Ireland setup is just a tough thing to talk about at the minute, because there always just seems to be one good thing will happen and then two bad things will happen. It's just unfortunate the way it goes. But hopefully we can get sorted now coming up to March with both the 21s and the senior team as well.
Yeah, 100%. Just quickly while we're there, I just want to talk a little bit about Manscaped. Obviously, they've sponsored this video and they have been sponsoring us and supporting us this month. So head over to manscaped.com. Don't forget to use the code IFFTV20 for 20% off all their products. They have the Lawnmower 3.0, the Weed Whacker for your nose and ear hair, and they've many other products there, deodorants, etc, etc, etc. And you can head over to their website, manscaped.com. Use the code IFFTV20 for 20% off and free shipping. Support them because they support us. Jeez, we look naked there without the overlay, don't we? There we go. But just quickly on the comments, MC Sweeney says, has Jack Byrne scored at his new club yet? No, he only got 5 minutes off the bench when Mick McCarthy had his last game before he got sacked. Now, David Salter says, what effect will Duffer's departure have on the team? Has the FAI actually fundamentally changed, lads? This is something that we just don't know, because we think things have changed, and then the signs of stuff that's happened in the past happening and stuff like that. So as Paul said there moments ago, you don't want to say something that's not factually true and kind of just speculate. But for me, the thing that's really annoying is that every time we think we are going forward in our steps, something comes in and knocks us 10 steps back. And that seems to be an ongoing thing in Irish football at the moment, is that we just, every time when we look like something's going to be positive, there's just another negative story, and it's just really, really annoying. Obviously, the latest one is Duffer leaving.
Yeah, I think mentions the FAI there. Has it changed? Obviously, we don't know. There was a lot of years there where there was a lot of stuff going on that wasn't great, and has all come out now with the John Delaney book, etc. Champagne Football. We all know those stories.
Bestseller, by the ad.
Yep. And it's just tough at the minute. As I said, you think it's going well and then it doesn't go well. Something bad happens, Even with the senior team, you had the COVID situation with Conley, and can't remember who else it was.
Ida.
Ida, yeah, and it was just a bit of a mess, So yeah, I don't think it'll have an effect because it's like it's not during an international break. It can change. Like we have a bit of time and someone else will come in and then it'll be sorted hopefully before the next one. So I think that helps. But again, in terms of the FAI, you don't know, and as I said, you don't want to say anything because we don't know the story. So that's it.
Yeah. Well, we're just gonna have to see what happens. I would think that John O'Shea makes a lot of sense. The fact that he's been coaching already, he has the coaching job at Reading, and then he has the under 21s as well. So he's getting a lot of coaching under his belt. And I think Stephen Kelly, just in case you didn't hear that right, the former right back who does a lot of media work within the Irish circles and off the ball and Premier Sports and all, used to play for Fulham and Spurs and stuff like that. He was saying that him, O'Shea, Reid, and I think Damien Delaney, they were all doing their coaching badges at the same time, and Duffer I think as well. So he would know Duffer and all them. Obviously played with them as well, but in terms of in a coaching capacity, he said they were all really good coaches, and I think O'Shea then would make sense. I think he was was it on the radio? I think he was speaking the other day, but I'm not 100%. It was written anyway, so I think getting O'Shea in there makes the most amount of sense. But if we get Carsley, and that would be a massive coup.
Yeah, definitely. And you did mention there him and Kilban were turned away. Obviously, that was at a time when the FAI were peak messers, is what we'll call them. So I mean, they could have done that. They had volunteers on the door, players who've been there, seen it, done it in the Premier League and at international level, and they just turned them away. So I mean, that's the FAI's loss. Obviously, you mentioned Carsley. Seems like he's still a bit sore about it, rightly so. Again, it would be a coup because you mentioned how well he's doing with the England underage setup, and we see it ourselves. Players that are coming through, they've got about 3 squads for their senior team now that could do a job in the qualifiers. So, yeah, it definitely would be a huge coup, and we want these people involved because they've been there and done it. That's the main thing. That's what you need, and I think that's where the FAI have maybe let themselves down in the past.
Yeah, well, again, it's all kind of hypothetical at the moment. It's just kind of a matter of waiting and seeing what actually happens, and it's just pure speculation otherwise till then. But if you're watching, it's also a second half here. It's 0-0. Sheffield United don't look any closer to scoring here. Newcastle pretty much parked the bus. But get your comments in if there's something that we haven't spoken about already. We'll be sure to speak about. We actually had, towards the end of the show last week, we had some great talking points with myself and Gary Spain. We're talking about the best live game we've been to and why. So I might ask you that there. It's going wide there. So I might ask you, what was the best live game you've been at?
Well, in terms of this season anyway, I'll just go off, just because they're fresh in my mind, going to the League of Ireland games. I was at the UCD and Longford Town playoff this year, and it was 3-2 to Longford. They got a late equaliser in normal time after being 1-0 down, and then they scored a late winner in extra time, 119th minute, and it was a fantastic game. It was a Saturday afternoon game, and it was fantastic, great watch. That's just fresh in my mind. In terms of the live games, I'd have to go back a bit. If you give me a chance to think, I'll definitely remember. But it would definitely
I'll give you the two that I went with, and that might refresh your memory then. And if people are watching from the other night, I do apologise because they're going to get a bit of a ramble. So I went with Holland and Ireland in the Lansdowne when McAteer scored. I was a ball boy for that game. And it was just absolute scenes. We'd beaten the Dutch, and they had, Hasselbank, Van Nistelrooy, Kluivert and so on the pitch, and finished the game with 4 strikers up front and couldn't score against Ireland, who had 10 men. And the day was just amazing. I mean, me and my brother were both ball boys. We got to our local football club, Brawl for Rovers, and we were picked out of a hat. I think I got picked out on my birthday to win the raffle, basically. And I got to be ball boy. My dad had McAteer to score first as well, so we won that bet as well. So I was just all round. The day couldn't have went any more perfect, and that was the Ireland game for me. And then the other game was Shells and Hadrick Split in Talca Park when Dave Rogers scored that volley and Alan Moore scored the the late goal then to win it. Obviously, great play by Joey and Doe to set that up at the time, because he was bringing it into the corner and then he cut in, gave it to Alan Moore and he had a tap in then. But they were the two best live games I've ever been at. So I hope that that gave you some time to think of a game that you may have been at and could have been the best one for you.
Well, I think it's not the most glamorous one, but maybe the first ever hurling game I went to. It was the last game in Lansdowne Road they played against San Marino. They won 5-0 and Robbie Keane scored a hat-trick and Kevin Doyle got 2, I think. Now, I didn't get tickets for any of the big games like the Holland game, the Germany win in 2015. Unfortunately, I couldn't get tickets for that. The Bosnia playoff, couldn't get tickets for that either. So, I
had your devs at the Germany game?
No, I had the devs the day after. I was only watching it half the day before. Yeah, no problem, no problem. And so I think the memory for me, just because it was my first game and it was the old Lansdowne Road with the Lansdowne Roar and all as well. That's a great memory for me. And obviously, I've actually Robbie Keane scored 3 hat-tricks for Ireland, and it was actually at all 3 games he got hat-tricks in, which is unbelievable. But I'd say that one because it's when I really started getting into supporting Ireland, and it was the old Lansdowne Road as well. Nothing wrong with the Aviva. I think just with the old grounds, there's just a bit more of an atmosphere about them.
Did you ever get to the Lansdowne when we played Brazil? And Graham Kavanagh famously, wasn't he booted Ronaldinho or something?
Yeah, I remember watching it, but I wasn't there. No, I was only at Lansdowne once when they played that San Marino game. It was the last one as well, I'm pretty sure. But
no, I was at that game and they had Ronaldinho and Ronaldo and Cafu, Roberto Carlos, and all these players that you'd just seen on the TV for years, and it's just after the 2002 World Cup, I think it was. And they had just an amazing team, and they played pretty much all their first team players against us as well. And we done well. If I remember correctly, we only lost 1-0. I could be wrong on that now, it was a long time ago. But that game was brilliant at the old Lansdowne. I can't believe San Marino, 5-0 win is the best live game you've ever been to. Surely something might have happened in a game where you were like, this is brilliant or whatever.
Let's see, I've only been to 3 Arsenal games, and one of them was a 3-1 defeat to Villa at home, so it's obviously not going to be that one. They drew 1-1 with Man City one time. Matthew Flamini scored, which, I mean, a 1-1 draw against City is probably a good result for Arsenal now. And then they beat AC Milan 3-1 in the Europa League a couple of years ago. But again, it's the Europa League. It's not the real AC Milan. It's not the real Arsenal. Danny Welbeck's playing up front. He's diving for penalties. I mean, that was a good memory, but they were already 2-0 up in the first leg. So, from the first leg. So, I mean, I've missed, in terms of Ireland, I missed out because I just couldn't get tickets for those games, which was unfortunate. But, it's just because I remember going, and it was just I was just so buzzed to go and see Ireland playing in Newcastle. No, never mind, nothing happened. Break now. It's just a good memory for me, and that's all. Even some of the games I've gone to recently, they drew 1-1 with Denmark at home. There was a good atmosphere, but I mean, they didn't qualify. They got beaten 5-1 by Denmark that time as well, which obviously we don't want to talk about. And just been a bit unlucky with some of the matches I've gone to.
Sounds like it. Hopefully that'll change in the next number of years or whatever. But I suppose I was lucky in that sense that we got me and my brother were picked out of a hat, to be ball boy. But if there is people watching in the comments, let us know what your best live game is. It'd be interesting to see. Gary Spain had a whole long list of games. He was going off talking about South America and watching River Plate and Boca and all this. So he has some CV in terms of games attended and stuff like that. I mean, it's every single Ireland game. I think he's missed one in 30 years or something.
Unbelievable. You got to give it to him, because it's all the traveling. You're going to Armenia, you're going to Moldova. I mean, you got to give it to him. He's dedicated, and I mean, I know, I'd love to go on an away trip sometime as well, but obviously, hopefully in the future we'll get to go on one as well. But Gary he just loves it, doesn't he? He just loves it.
Yeah. But as well, you got to work on a good few of the ones, especially since the virus, so you didn't get to miss any because of it.
Yeah.
So he's been lucky. He got to go to all the away games in the Nations League game, doing bits of it. Oh, great turn there. Oh, it's cleared away. David Moore has a comment there. Keep the comments coming in, guys. There's been no comments in about 5 minutes. He says, who do you think will be relegated from the Premier League? I think Sheffield United. Let me whip up the league here. I think Sheffield United, but do you have anyone off the top of your head there, Paul?
I think West Brom and Fulham would be the favourites to go down with Sheffield United as well. Personally, I think Sam Allardyce will keep West Brom up because of his reputation, and he's going to bring in a couple of players this window. He's already brought in Robert Snodgrass from West Ham. It's a good signing for West Brom. He'll do a job. I think West Brom instead. I think Brighton might slip in because I just think they've only had one win in the Premier League at home in 2020, which was against Arsenal, and they're just like, they try and play football, but they just end up conceding a lot of goals. And I just think you look at the Brightons, the Huddersfields, the Bournemouths, like they'll come in for a couple of years, but they're not really ever going to stay in for a long period, you know. I think it's only a matter of time before some of them go down because they're just smaller clubs. You know, you look at the likes of Leeds coming back up now. Leeds will probably stay up for a while. Like Nottingham Forest are challenging in the next league. You've got big clubs down there, and I just think Brighton will be like Bournemouth and Huddersfield, and they'll just fall away eventually. And I think it might be this year. I think Brighton, Fulham, and Sheffield United. Unfortunately, Sheffield United because of the Irish lads involved there.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that they'll probably get a club if they do go down is not a bad thing. But I'll just say Sheffield United, West Brom, Fulham. I think you're guaranteed to see some Irish players dropping out in terms of the Premier League and maybe coming back up. I would probably go. I'd probably go with the three that are down there at the moment: Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United. I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but I think Brighton have enough to stay up. The only thing is Fulham have 2 games in hand. It says here. On them, Sheffield United have played 18 tonight, and they're on 3 points. West Brom are on 8. Then Fulham are on 11 points, and then you have Brighton who are on 14. But as I said, Fulham have 2 games in hand, so if they win them, then you got Burnley as well. They've got 2 games in hand, and then you've got the next team probably after that is Newcastle. Now that's all dependent on whether they actually win, you know, the league or whatever. Or sorry, win their games in hand, not win the league. Someone's saying there penalty.
Yeah, I think it is. It looked like a handball there in the last break for Sheffield United. Federico Fernandez definitely hits his hand, but he's under pressure from Billy Sharp. So I mean, you know, he doesn't have his hand. It's a questionable one for me, anyway.
He kind of leaned into it though, didn't he?
Like
he got pushed into it. Like, I mean,
yeah. It's a tough one to call. I mean, this VAR stuff. Sometimes they're giving penalties that just you wonder, and then sometimes it's so clear and they just won't give it. It's unbelievable. But I'm actually just after thinking there of another game. The first ever Premier League game I went to, it wasn't involving Arsenal. It was actually involving Fulham and Birmingham. It was the year Fulham stayed up on the last day. Danny Murphy scored a header against Portsmouth, but it was the week before that. They played Birmingham at home, and it was a scorching day in London. Obviously, Fulham's a really nice area down by the Thames as well. And the play, like Craven Cottage, you wouldn't think, it doesn't look that big on the telly, but it was packed out that day, and the atmosphere is great. And I remember Jimmy Bullard was playing for them. Brian McBride was playing. He scored as well that day. They had Boccanegra, the likes of them. There was just, I just remember, it was like all these old absolute mad nutters playing for Fulham. Danny Murphy as well. And they ended up staying up the week after that. But the reason I remember is because all the fans are dressed up fancy dress. That's what they do on like the second last game of the season. And there's just lads rocking around and everything under the sun. Like, you know, Birmingham fans are great. It was just a great atmosphere. It's a good memory for me, like, you know, but I would still stick with that Ireland-San Marino game because it was my first.
Yeah, I think the ref's given it. Pen.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I think it's a bit harsh, but look, it's a big penalty now for Sheffield United, and I'm sure Billy Sharp will step up to take this maybe, being Mr. Sheffield United himself.
Steve Bruce seems to be in the comments here. I'm going to get his comment up now in a sec. So guys, if you're on Instagram as well, make sure to head over and follow us on Instagram. We're, I think, just 20 followers short of 30,000. So if you wouldn't mind heading over and giving us a follow, I'm going to pop it up on the screen there. So yeah, just make sure. So Steve Bruce says, true test of character this. Have to appreciate the ones on the pitch for showing a great deal of togetherness. Good man,
you should
Steve.
be watching the match. Should be watching the match, Steve.
And then he says, is that young Martin O'Neill at the other end? Do you know,
I think he's talking about me somehow. 1-0, Billy Sharp puts it home.
Harry O.C. says he's already done, lads. So I think he means he's followed on Instagram. Good man, Harry. He says one is against Spurs and the other against Byrne. I think he's talking about Fulham's game in hand there. Yeah, he says for the Fulham games in hand, sorry. What a game that was. Come on.
I think he's talking about the game I was talking about there, the one I was at. The 2-0 win over Birmingham that year. They beat Birmingham the game I was
Come
at.
on, you Whites. Yeah, he must be.
I remember because they, I think between the two of them that day, one of them was going to go down if they didn't win, or one was pretty much down if they didn't win. So, it was a big game, and then obviously they did stay up in the end. And Roy Hodgson had just come in as manager as well, I remember, and it's just great. You had players like Brian McBride and all, you mentioned them yourself. Listen, maybe not the most prolific goal scorer, but a US international, always there. Was a big player for Fulham as well in the end, and Jimmy Bullard, had a lot of quality, but was just an absolute lunatic as well. So that's the thing.
He had bad injuries, I think, when he was at Fulham. He never really got to fulfil his potential, but he was good when he did play. I think with that Fulham team, they really did love an American because they had Clint Dempsey, Bocanegra, as you mentioned earlier. So they had. Harry says Martin O'Neill knows his Fulham. I can't believe it being called Martin O'Neill, but anyway.
I don't know whether to take it as a compliment or an insult after the end with Ireland there.
Take it as Euro 2016, Martin O'Neill.
Yeah. I'll always remember him jumping up for that goal against Italy and the one against Wales when McLean scored as well. There's a great bit, you've probably seen it, the video in the stadium. It's behind, you can see the fans and you can see O'Neill, he's out in the dugout. And when McLean scores, it's like a big jump as if he's going for a header. He used to
do that with Celtic all the time. He used to do that. Larson used to score goals and he'd be on the side. He does this nervous jump as if he's trying to head it home himself. So Matt Ritchie's just came on there for Dummett. Remember we were talking about left backs for Newcastle, so I think that answers the question that he could definitely be an option for them if he did go down, end of Stevens, that is. But just that, Fulham over the years have always had American players. Now, the reason you obviously brought up Brian McBride is because I shared a picture of him earlier. I was looking through some stuff in the house there from a trip to Belfield when I was younger with my dad and my family and stuff like that. We'd go over once a year to see Everton and we get to meet the players. And at that season, I think McBride came on loan to Everton and he'd scored his first game and stuff like that. But that's how we got talking about him. But I think Fulham that year, or maybe the year after with Hodgson, didn't get to the Europa League final there. Damien Duff was playing for them and Hangeland and all these types of players. They were really good.
Yeah. I think it was the 09-10 season. It was when they had the comeback against Juve team. Maybe an Asian
Dempsey's chip.
Yeah, what a goal.
Sensational.
It's never really talked about, but it was a great European goal. And they were 1 down in that game as well. I think they were 3-1 down from the first leg. And
they had to win 4-0 or something, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think, even, I know it's an Asian Juve team, David Trezeguet scored. He was Asian, Del Piero as well. But it's still David Trezeguet and Del Piero, you still got to go.
That they played Rovers, Pot?
Year after that was the year they played Rovers, and Del Piero scored that unbelievable free kick in wasn't in Modena, was it? I think it was lashing rain. I remember,
Mm.
and RTE couldn't get the coverage for like the first half or something because it was so bad. Just remember, oh
Disaster.
God, why do I remember some of these things? It's such useless information.
Andy Carroll's just came on there for Newcastle for Fernandez. So they're really throwing everything at it now to try and get an equaliser here against Sheffield United. It'd be a big win for Sheffield United if they can get it. And well needed for a bit of momentum for them, I think. I mean, I did speak about getting the first goal in games. Now, they were very lucky getting that penalty there, I would say, but that's just the way VAR is now.
Yeah, definitely. It's like we were saying as well. Like you don't know what is and what isn't the penalty anymore. Like there, it looked like he was fouled, not trying to intentionally handball it. But again, as you mentioned as well, it's important now Sheffield United stick it out and get this win because if you get a couple of wins together, I look at it myself with Arsenal. Now they're only a couple of points off, top four. Which I mean, Chelsea aren't in form. Teams are dropping points all over the place. I mean, it could end up getting a run. I don't think they'll get in, but it's the same as Sheffield United down the other end. West Brom aren't winning. Fulham aren't winning that many games. Like, keep it going, and then you're catching up to them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just Dan McDonald just has tweeted there that Jack Byrne, he seems to be every Applewell squad at the moment seems to be a talking point, but Jack Byrne and fellow new signing Joe Garner aren't included versus Larnaca tomorrow, as they have been put on their own fitness plan and aren't fully training with the squad at the moment. We'll be joining up the group later in the week. I think that makes sense because he's a bit kind of like in pre-season mode at the moment, and I'd imagine Garner is as well. I don't know why Garner is because wasn't he playing with Wigan, but anyway, Jack had finished the season about a month or longer, maybe 5 weeks ago now, and I think he is just kind of getting back into the swing of things. He probably got to enjoy Christmas, which was nice because it's the last Christmas with his family for a while because he'd go back because he'd have to go to Cyprus, and I imagine he knew he was going to Cyprus as well. So I'd say he just took it easy for this Christmas, and then he's gone over there to try and get his fitness back and get into the team. I think people are really overreacting in saying, "Oh, well, you don't get in this, that, and the other." I think if he's shown the quality that we know he has, he's much more grown up now than he was when he came back from that time at Kilmarnock and the rough spell he had in England. He was only a kid back then. He's came back, he's grown up an awful lot in that time, and I think he'll get the time to show his quality soon enough. And I think with Joe Garner as well, he has someone there who speaks English and would have had a kind of similar background in terms of playing for Wigan and stuff like that. So they kind of have something that they can mutually talk about and stuff like that. Whether it was good or bad, it doesn't really matter. But having someone like that makes such a difference. And from my experience, I was over coaching in Canada, and the second year I was by myself. But like the amount of English lads, especially lads from like Northern England, they have very similar banter. They're very funny, and Jack will be used to that from playing around there. So I think he'll settle in there fine as long as the two of them are kind of being picked together. I think the two of them will be fine. What is your kind of thoughts on it?
Yeah, obviously it's still early. I mean, as you mentioned, Jack just finished the season with Rovers there in early December with the cup final defeat. Yeah, I think it's the right thing for him. I don't know about Garner. Obviously, he's been playing for Wigan. I don't see why he'd need another pre-season. Yeah, I mean, it's good for him, and hopefully they'll get settled soon and they'll get a couple of games under their belts, particularly Jack, because we want them involved with Ireland come March as well. Yeah, I still think it's a good move from him. I think he doesn't owe Rovers anything. He doesn't owe the League of Ireland anything. He's had 2 very successful years there. He's won the league and the cup in 2 separate years, and I mean, he doesn't owe the league anything. And I always like it. Like, it's the same with any player. Like, if they step out of their own country, step out of their comfort zone, it's an opportunity for them to prove themselves. He's got more of a chance of playing in Europe with Applewell. Obviously, they're not going to qualify this year by the looks of it because of their poor league form so far. But yeah, I mean, he'll stay there for a few years. He'll learn. It's good experience. And as I said already, he doesn't know the League of Ireland anything.
Yeah, I think people are really overreacting with it. I think anyway. I think it's one of those where just let him play his football, let him get on with things. I'm sure he's sick of people are reading what people are saying. Oh, Jack Byrne, blah, blah, blah. People going mad on Twitter. Just let it play out. See how he gets on. I'm sure he'd be fine soon enough. So I think he'll be fine. I think he'll start getting a run of games in the next little while. I think the pressure will probably be off him because of the fact that they're already doing so bad. It couldn't get any worse. I think that might actually be a good thing. And let's just let him just shine and let his quality shine through. And I think evidently he has a lot of quality. I just hope that he gets the time to be able to show it, and I hope that he's used in a way. I don't know anything about this new manager and what style of play he uses or what way he goes about things, but hopefully he plays with a number 10 who's a creative player and allows Jack then to be that player. But it's again about the quality that's around him. I mean, Jack made a lot of players for Shamrock Rovers look 5 times better than they already are. I mean, he made Aaron Green look amazing. I'm not saying that Aaron Green's bad, by the way, but I just think he made him look way better, and that's just the quality of the balls in terms of his crosses and stuff like that, his key passes through balls and stuff like that. Really good. So and look, players, as I said, like Aaron Green and stuff like that, they have to make the runs as well to get onto the ends of these things as well. But I think Jack just sees things way before anybody else, and I think as well with like I did an interview with Keith Fahey before, and he spoke about Jack, about how he sees things, like he sees them before anybody else and stuff like that, picks out passes before anybody else and stuff like that. So I think if you get the quality around him, but then again he can make players look like quality, but they need to be on the same wavelength, and hopefully a lot of those players are speaking English, because I've been at many a game where Jack's just demanding the ball. So if they don't like someone like that, then they might not get on, but hopefully they can, because as well, you got to remember Aaron McAniff has been a great player for Shamrock Rovers and gets no headlines because Jack's just been that good.
Yeah, definitely. McAniff's got some very important goals too. Nearly 2-0 there, deflection off the post from Bruce there. But I agree with what you said about McAniff. He's got some very important goals for Rovers the last one. I just think Rovers have been overall a very good team, with Jack Byrne being the linchpin of that team. And they've brought players in now to replace him, but it is going to be a little bit tougher. They've had 2 solid years of them. But in terms of Jack, I mean, listen, he's a quality player. We know what he can do. We've seen him live several times. I mean, people just need to relax. That's it.
Yeah, I think it just let the football do the talking, let his feet do the talking. It's probably the best thing to do. Harry O'C says, where will the goals come from? The Irish squad? The players, maybe? Only joking. But look, again, this is going to be something that's going to let the football do the talking on that one as well, I suppose. Do you reckon Arsenal will get a Europa League spot, lads? Paul, you're the Arsenal fan here. I'll let you answer that, because I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, they're still in the competition itself. I think that's their best bet of qualifying for the Champions League as well. I don't think they'll win the Europa League. I think there are better teams in the Europa League so far, and teams have just dropped out of the Champions League that are very good. In terms of getting a Europa League spot, yeah, I think they're definitely, if they play like they have the last few weeks, they'll be up competing for a Champions League spot as well, because teams are dropping points all over the place. And Arsenal played well. Kieran Tierney, Bukayo Saka, Smith Rowe have been immense the last few weeks. And Aubameyang did score on Saturday. That's important. Hopefully he can get himself going again. And I think Europa League spot is where Arsenal are at. I think they could sneak one. And obviously still in the FA Cup as well. Drew Southampton or Shrewsbury away. I think it's away in the next round. It's like, if it's Southampton, it'll be a tough game. If it's Shrewsbury, touch wood, you'd expect them to beat them. But I mean, it's Arsenal are a tough one. They can go on a run and not win for 2 months, and then they can win 4 games in a row like they have. So I think they'll definitely be thereabouts. But it depends on the games against the teams in and around them.
Yeah, just a good comment that came in there. Keelan Flynn says he's the best American ever to play in the Premier League. There's a good few there. What?
Tim Howard.
Brad Friedel. Clint Dempsey. You couldn't put... The thing is, Landon Donovan was really, really good, but he only ever came to Everton on loan. He never was actually signed, so you probably couldn't put him in there. But when he did come and He did sign on loan. He was amazing for the time that he was there. Brian McBride, Boccanegra,
There's so many.
handball there. Who else? There's loads of them. Best USA player. Tim Howard was a brilliant servant as well for the Premier League too, I think.
He's a good goalkeeper too, very solid goalkeeper, particularly with Hughes. Maybe not so at United, but for Hughes he was really, really solid for a number of years.
I don't know about that.
Well, I mean solid as in he was solid, like playing all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like you look at some players now, you get 16 games out of 38 out of them, you know. And I know with a keeper maybe it's a bit easier, but he never really seemed to be injured a lot.
Yeah, scored a goal as well against Bolton.
Yeah, Bolton, yeah. Oh, Bogdan, Christ.
What player?
Liverpool.
And then Liverpool signed him, yeah.
Liverpool went through a dodgy period there.
There was that lad who played for Bolton, who was really good, the midfielder. What was his name? Blonde fella.
Stuart Holden.
Him, yeah, he was really good.
He was a good player, all right. Yeah, I remember he scored a goal against Blackburn one day. Commentator went mad, and it was like Bolton and Blackburn, mate. Like they're both down the bottom. I know, listen, commentary's their job, but it's just like, yeah. But no, yeah, he was a good player, all right.
Then who was the lad? Bradley, Michael Bradley. Didn't he play for someone for a loan spell? Was a Villa for a little bit, and then he ended up going to I think Roma.
I remember him playing for Roma. Was he at Villa? I don't remember him at Villa.
So that's somebody.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about anyway, but I remember him at Roma, and it was a bit of a nightmare there for him, all right. It's not the sort of club to not do well at.
I have him here. Michael Bradley, baldy lad, real bald.
Yeah. His dad was the manager of Swansea as well, Bob Bradley.
Yeah, they take the piss out of him on Soccer AM.
Yeah,
Brad Bobley.
Yeah, he managed the national team as well. He did.
Yeah, that when Michael played for them.
Yeah.
He's 33 now.
Yeah, he was a good international player. Probably still playing for them. Really.
Yeah, look, no, he played with Metro Stars, Heerenveen, and Mönchengladbach, went on loan to Villa, then he signed for Chievo, then he signed for Roma, and then he played for Toronto FC. I actually saw him play in Toronto. He played with Giovinco for Toronto when I was over there coaching. I saw him in an MLS game. Giovinco was unbelievable over there as well, by the way, in the MLS.
Was great. I remember him playing in Italy, Toronto. And he's never really done it. But then he went over there and he was just deadly.
Yeah, there was one player who was really bad for Everton, Joe Max Moore. He was horrendous. I think he went to Fulham as well. I think, but David Saltis says Pulisic will be the best talent-wise. I reckon he's dropped off a bit this season, but last season he looked like the best player in the league at times. I think he is class. Yeah,
he's very good.
But I think your man Bradley is a bit mad because he played, with Mönchengladbach and all these teams as well. He was a good player. Obviously, I think in the World Cup he was good. Was it 2010? I think he was good.
Yeah, they had there was a fella, Jermaine Jones. I think he played for Blackburn as well, but he played for the national team with Bradley in centre mid. And
he played for Hamburg or something, didn't he?
Schalke, I think it was. I think it was Schalke. Sorry. Now, don't quote me on it.
I think you're right. But yeah, there's a good free kick here now from the edge of the box.
Claudio Reyna played for City as well.
Good show.
He was at Rangers too, wasn't he?
I think he was. Then he went to Man City.
Yeah, like the real Man City, not this Man City.
Yeah, I think his son plays for Dortmund now. Reyna.
Oh yeah, he's a good player, alright. I know. I've seen.
He was good in the World Cup. Yeah, Claudio Reyna. He was a good player. Who else? There's Casey Keller.
Casey Keller. Great name. They all have great names. You got to give it to them.
Great keepers, the Americans.
Yeah. Like some choice, like Keller, Brad Friedel, Tim Howard. Like imagine, I'd say the three of them were like involved for a little bit.
Brad Guzan.
Guzan, yeah, good goalie. Seen him live as well. when Villa beat Arsenal 3-1.
Keelan Flynn says I think he's managing a Walmart in Ohio now. I think he's talking about Bradley, or maybe he's talking about Joe Lapira. Don't diss Walmart. Well, Walmart's a good place to go, man. I used to go there all the time, but I used to pick up loads of stuff in Walmart when I was over in Canada. Great little place to pick up stuff. He's not offside there, Brewster, is he?
He's messed it up completely, trying to be too fancy.
Yeah, well, you better hope that Newcastle don't get an equaliser.
Miles offside there.
Bet. So it's a couple of other comments coming in saying him and Freddie Adu.
Oh, Freddie Adu.
He was like the wonder kid off every Football Manager game, and was tipped. He was like Odegaard, wasn't he? He was tipped to be this like absolutely amazing player. I think Odegaard's done all right in recent times, but Adu was meant to go to Man United and everything like that, and just never ever lived up to any sort of any of the reputation that was given to him. There's one for you. I'll let you go first because I've been actually at a few decent games with good atmosphere, and from what you told me earlier, you haven't.
I've been at with this one. I can even say games they didn't win. Like I think of they played Austria at home a couple of years ago, and after not when Trapattoni was manager, after it, and it was the 2018 qualifiers, and John Walter scored a late equaliser, and then we got a goal disallowed after that to win. It was disallowed. It was right to be disallowed. But I remember after we got the goal, the place was hopping, and I mean we nearly ended up winning the game in the end. I think in the last game,
Shane Duffy's disallowed goal.
Yeah, Shane Duffy's one. Some fella absolutely buried someone on the line before Duffy put. I think Duffy buried your man on the line.
I think he just put him and the ball in the net. I actually think it was a perfectly good goal.
Yeah, I remember it happening, but it was like it's so fast, and then you're jumping around because you think it's a goal and like it's gone. But yeah, that was a great atmosphere after Walters equalised. Anyway, trying to think of other ones. Even the last one, the Denmark one, the 1-1 after we scored and we were kind of going forward. The atmosphere was good, and at the start of the game as well, the atmosphere was good all the way throughout because it was like it's a big chance for us. But yeah, they'd be the two for me that stand out.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. The Denmark game and after we scored the goal against Switzerland when Didzy scored, he's just actually gone off there for Phil Jagielka.
Yeah, that was a great moment. That was just after Whelan hit the crossbar as well, and the place was about to go nuts.
Yeah, no, it was just after, because McLean got the ball.
Yeah, just after. Yeah, sorry. I don't know.
No, because McLean picked the ball up from that, won the ball back, whipped it in, hit the defender on the back, and then fell lovely for Didzy, and he buried it. I actually remember that game quite well because I had a mate over from Canada, and I think I interviewed Gary Neville that day. But he was over with me anyway, and he got tickets through the Confederations of the Republic of Ireland Supporters Club, CRISC. You may see them on Twitter. Those guys gave him a ticket for the game, so he was able to go. Like he's not really a big football fan, but they had a ticket, and they were like, "Oh, do you want it?" And he was willing to pay for it and everything like that. And he got a ticket in the singing section behind the goal that Didzy scored, and he just said the place went mental because I was up in the media section. I was like, I wish I could have swapped with you because it would have been amazing to be in there. But I think the best atmosphere of a home game, because I went to all the games back when we were, really good under Mick, and there were so many of those games. I'd probably say the Holland game because there was so much like riding on it and stuff like that. So the McAteer goal, and then there was a game against Portugal as well that we played. Roy Keane won us a penalty for that. I think Dennis Irwin maybe took it, I think.
Oh, nearly an own goal there. Oh, very, very close.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it hits the post, yeah. Ampadu, was it?
Bogle, I think. Jaden Bogle.
It's just coming up to the end of the game here now. This is probably the last kick of the game. Just quickly, Seamus Coleman is on the bench for Everton against Wolves. And I'll just see if there's anyone else.
Oh. Full time. There we go. First win of the season for Sheffield United. Long
Yeah.
time coming. Long time coming.
Well, that's been the live watch along. Anyway, lots of talking points. We discussed pretty much everything from the news as well. If you want to go back and watch, if you just joined in, go back and watch it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to check out manscaped.com. Use the code IFFTV20 for 20% off and free shipping. If you're new as well to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and head over to our Instagram at Irish Football Fan TV and give us a follow. We're very close to reaching 30,000 followers. Paul, thanks very much for joining me, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon enough.
Thanks, man. Enjoyed it.
All right, take care, guys. All the best, and